My name is Hannah Foster. I'm 21 years old, and I am a student right now, and I'm studying, my major is family studies and social services, and I have a minor in agriculture with missions, and that's kind of how I ended up here at IMI. I needed an internship for my minor, and my professor asked me, do you want to go overseas? Do you want to stay here in Missouri? And I said, well, I don't really have any money and I have no place to go, so I might as well just stay here. And he said, well, I know of an orphanage in Honduras if that sounds like something you want to do. And I said, that sounds perfect. That sounds like what I want to do with the rest of my life. So he gave me Tom's number, and I called Tom to see if that was something I could do, and he said, sure. Pick what you love and come, stay as long as you like. And so I booked a ticket for as long as I could possibly be here, which was 7 weeks, and ended up coming to Honduras. So, every day is different. I've helped out a lot on the farm, and I love working here on the farm with the agriculture engineer. He's shown me a lot about different soils and what it's like to farm in a third world country. I've been able to brand cattle and butcher chickens, work with the pigs, collect eggs, just kind of anything and everything that I want to do and I want to help with. They just let me come along and help. I've helped out a little bit in the kindergarten room, and then just teaching and keeping the kids from going crazy. And then I helped out as a caregiver. There's 2 times when a kid was sick and one of the primary caregivers had to leave, and so they asked me to step in and kind of take care of 14 little kids, which is crazy and insane, especially when you don't speak Spanish, but it was good, and I loved it, and I love the kids. One of the things that is probably what I'm going to take away the most from being here is spending time with the older girls and the older boys, and just building relationships with them and hearing their story, hearing what they have to say, learning their background from the psychologists, and then praying for them, praying with them, and just kind of doing life with them. And the Tias have been really good at just inviting me into their life and letting me watch a movie if they watch a movie, let me teach them games if they're bored, or just kind of sit out there and talk to them. And so, I don't know, I've been doing a lot, and yet I don't know how helpful it was, but I learned a lot since I've been here. So. Another thing that I love is seeing the kids change. So whenever they're being disobedient or having problems, and when we talk to them, when we have interventions with them and try to help them change into being better followers of Christ, seeing them change. Like Christian is a kid that kind of has a special place in my heart, and he's an ornery kid sometimes, but he's changed when we had to talk with him. Some of the adults here did, and he helped me one day, and he's really starting to become a man and starting to change and bring others alongside with him and change and be an example to the little kids. So I guess seeing the kids change and seeing God touch their heart are some of the things that have impacted me the most. It's hard to say, like, there's a lot of things I'm going to take away. And I need to start writing them down. I haven't yet. But some of them just have to do with things I've learned in my classes that have been reinforced. Some of them are just practical things. Like, I learned that when teenage boys are really friendly to you, usually they're up to no good. So you got to figure out why they're hugging you, why they're actually being all friendly, and you know, set boundaries. Boundaries are so good, even though they're hard. I think just a lot of, like, understanding that people are people. Like Brian was talking about people, not having expectations of people in a sense, like the kids' parents are abusers, but they're also people, and the kids are mean, but they're also kids, and like everyone has a hard, rough side, but everyone also is made in the image of God. And when we get together and we pray a lot, all of a sudden, things work, and God has answered a lot of prayers since I've been here. Little ones that are goofy and big ones that matter a lot. One of the outreaches that we did was going to a dump where people lived in the dump, and their livelihood was collecting things from the dump. And so we went with some short-term missionaries, and obviously the people wanted the food and the clothes that we had to bring, but I was very impressed with their want for prayer also, and for us to just willingness to let us pray for them, and we prayed a lot that they would have a hope in a future. And so I guess it just impacted me that, like, even though they're in the dump, that can be their ministry. And even though I'm here, this can be my ministry. But even when I'm in the States, I have my own ministry there. And, like, wherever we are, that's their ministry. So I guess it impacted me because it's not like some of those people want to live there. And so it's not that we need to take them out. We need to save them from where they are. They want to be there, great, but they can be missionaries where they are. So it's kind of cool, like, we're coming in to encourage them, to enable them to be the best that they can be there. Also, I've got to shadow the social worker and the psychologist. And I went up into the mountains with the social worker to see where some of these kids come from, and I also got to get one of the girls who has appendicitis, or had appendicitis. We went and got her mom. And we interviewed some other people in the mountains to possibly have their kids come stay at the City of Refuge. And the mountains are beautiful. The terrain to get there is just insane. I asked how they found these kids, and they just said word of mouth. And word of mouth goes a long way in Honduras, I guess. But it's just the stories of poverty. Like when we went to the one mom's house, Alexandra's mom, she saw us and she invited us to come kind of stand in her yard, and then she just broke down and she started crying, and the social worker was there and had her arm around her, and she told the social worker, like, "You're like my guardian angel." And she just shared problems with the father, and she works so hard, and to see her life in shambles, and yet she doesn't want to do anything to change it. It was a very eye-opening experience, being on the other side of things. Especially, I went with a social worker and psychologist to there's 4 girls who live here, to their family's house. And we gave a talk about appropriate behaviors towards the children when they come, because the children, they are required by the government to go back on holidays if they have a family, and they get re-traumatized every time they go back. And so we went in and we talked about love, proper ways to teach obedience, proper ways to act with them, certain things that they shouldn't see or ever see or be exposed to, and things that I thought were just kind of common. Well, I knew they weren't common knowledge, but it's just sad that some people don't understand that that's not how you treat kids. And it was really, really weird and really hard to sit next to people that I knew were kind of like the perpetrators, people who had exposed these kids to things that they never should have seen at that age, and re-traumatize them every time they go back home. And if I hadn't seen their faces, I wanted to be like, no, they're horrible people, they're bad, they're evil, they need to never see their kids again, and their kids just need to be here, and they need to be safe in a way, and not that the kids should never be re-traumatized, but the people who are the perpetrators, sometimes I'm not making excuses for them, but sometimes it's almost like they don't know better, like they're in that poverty mindset, or they are just not thinking, I don't know, they've never gotten trained, there's just so many reasons, and so it's like, they're people. Like, they gave us Coke and cookies when we came in, and we laughed with them, and they had smiles, and it was really weird because they're people, you know. And so I've gotten to do way more than I ever thought I would do here, because Teresa has just kind of said, hey, where you want to be, go, just step in, work, learn. And I've got to see so much about these kids' lives. I have gotten to see how hard it is to work here, in the sense that there's just so much to be done. There's so much need, and there's not always enough time or funds to do everything that you need to do, but just doing the best with what you have, you know. And so, yeah, I'm so blessed that I've gotten this opportunity as an internship, not just for agriculture, but for my major, which is family studies and social services, to be a social worker and to see those things firsthand and experience them without having to commit my life to something I didn't know what it was before. So it's really cool to see. Am I cut out for what I want to do? And you know, like, is this really what I do want to do? And even though it's hard and there's a lot of gray, I know it is, and I know that's where God has put my heart. So watching the kids worship, I love watching them worship, and watching the purity of a kid's heart when they worship God. And just seeing that they love Jesus even though they've been through some horrible, awful, traumatic things, and watching them dance with flags. And then I guess the last thing is when I was sitting down by the pulperia the other day, and all the girls came up and they bought all their candy and everything for the week using their money that they had. And then we were sitting there, and the tia was saying something like, you know, I'm really glad you're here, and was being really nice and encouraging to me. And then all of a sudden Vanessa gave me like a piece of candy, and then another girl came up and gave me a piece of candy. Another girl came up and gave me a piece of candy. And it wasn't like I was asking for it. It's not like I, you know, necessarily even wanted it, but their candy is like almost like a widow's mite, you know, like they wanted to give it to me to show their thanks and gratitude. And I don't want to cry again, but they, they really, they care about you as much as you care about them, and that's really cool to see. So, yeah. But, yeah, I don't know. They changed me.